At this time, I'll call the special meeting of the Murray City Council to order. I'd like to welcome our guest, invite you to stand and join us in a moment of reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Ross. Thank you. We'd like to make this announcement before we start. One of the items on the agenda today will be a public hearing, and I invite anyone who would like to speak at that hearing to sign up on the sign-in sheet. And you got that, Jim? Over on the table by the wall. First item on our agenda is to consider the minutes of the July the 9th meeting. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the minutes are approved. We'll now consider resolution 2026-008. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2026-008, a resolution of the City of Murray, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to make application for 2026 Kentucky Office of Homeland Security grant funds, and upon approval to enter into agreement with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to facilitate the project.
Thank you. Mr. Osborne, would you like to give an explanation of that resolution?
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is a resolution which would authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with the Homeland Security Department. We'll make application for a Homeland Security grant, which would be used for communication equipment for our fire department. It'll be $100,000 or less, and there is no match on that grant. So we haven't received the grant. This is just simply a resolution authorizing us to apply.
Did you make a motion, Mr. Bohanna? Motion made and second to approve this resolution. Are there any questions? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Ross? Mr. Boland? Dr. Higginson? Mr. Bohannon? Mr. Hudspeth? Ms. Cherry? Mr. Hornbuck? Ms. Rao? Mr. Darnell?
Aye.
And the resolution is approved. We'll now consider bids on the system improvement water projects. Marissa, would you speak to that?
Good evening. We accepted bids at 2 p.m. today for the system improvements water projects. That's 5 water projects for Story, 7th, 13th, 10th, and 11th. It's replacing our existing water lines and improving them. The low bid that we received 4 bids, but the low bid was from D-Port for $463,336, which is in budget. So we are recommending D-Port. Do you have any questions?
Just one. There's a big discrepancy between
the bids? Any concerns with Deport? Have we worked with them before?
No, the big difference is we work with them a couple times now, and they actually come in low because they bore a lot of their lines, so they don't have to open trench and pave, close down streets, all that. So they're able to come in lower on a lot of projects. They will reconnect. It's the main down the street that they're replacing, and they're gonna rehook in the meters whenever they replace. Yep. You're welcome.
Any question?
Move approval.
Motion made and second to approve the bid from Deport. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the bid is approved. Let me give a few ground rules on our public hearing. To get to the point we're at tonight, I'll remind everyone that this process started by receiving a sample ordinance from the Kentucky Resource Center, which is a public environmental legal organization in Kentucky, probably the one most recognized. This draft was sent to the Planning Committee on June the 2nd. The Planning Committee worked with staff and presented a draft, and a public hearing was held on June the 9th, attended by some 100 people, at which time at least 20 people testified at the hearing. Then City Council met on June the 11th, and they passed a 1-week moratorium to give the Planning Commission time to consider the input that they received at the public hearing. And then on June the 16th, the Planning Commission met and forwarded another ordinance that was revised after the hearing to the City Council for a first reading on June 18th. That is the ordinance that the hearing will be held concerning tonight. Anyone who signed up to speak, when I call you for you may come to the podium. You will have 5 minutes to speak. If you don't say everything you want to say in 5 minutes, you need to submit it in writing. I do have some information already presented in writing, and that will be entered into the record along with the minutes and the tape of what's heard tonight. I have appointed a committee to study this issue, made up of council members, our attorney, and our planning staff, to review the ordinance, to consider all the input that has been given, and to bring back an ordinance for a future reading. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second to open this public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The public hearing is now open. Please tell us your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Tara Lynn Callagher, and my address is 22 Brookfield Lane. I am an expert in liability risk transfer and risk management, and I am urging you to strengthen the data center ordinance by embedding clear mandatory risk management requirements, such as comprehensive liability insurance standards and, at a minimum, quarterly independent inspections and compliance surveys. These protections should be in the ordinance itself rather than leaving them to the individualized conditional use permit process. Annual reviews are no substitute for clear binding requirements that apply automatically. Data centers involve substantial ongoing risks that justify enforceable standards with regular verifications set up front in the zoning code. These are essential for protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of our community. Because this ordinance is being created specifically for data centers, not general industrial uses, there is no reason that core risk management standards cannot be established directly in the ordinance and applied consistently to every proposal. Relying on CUP conditions makes protection discretionary, project to project, and enforcement could become inconsistent over time. Communities all over the country are learning that vague, discretionary, and site-specific data center permitting is leaving cities, residents, and taxpayers exposed. We deserve proactive provisions in the ordinance that anticipate these risks with strong baseline safeguards in law, not reactive fixes after problems emerge. I have already submitted detailed recommendations to the city for dissemination. Please read the document in full. The wording is deliberate. It was written to uphold in litigation. Each recommendation is drafted to stand alone and its own self-contained provision, so that if a court ever strikes one, the other one survives. Rewording them, merging them with one another, or folding them into other provisions of the ordinance will break that protection. And recommendation 25 is not a set of optional add-ons. It corrects provisions in the current draft ordinance that are unlikely to survive in a courtroom, and the oversight recommendations depend upon it. Since submitting it, I also found another area that invites a lawsuit. If these gaps remain open, costs of any incidents and lawsuits will fall on the city, residents, and taxpayers, not the operator. Adopt these recommendations, and Murray will have one of the most comprehensive and protective data center ordinance in the Commonwealth, while staying entirely within the bounds of the KRS Chapter 100 statute. Whoever votes on this ordinance will do so having been advised and handed these solutions. Thank you very much for your time. I do have a copy of the comprehensive overview, and I would like to submit that into record. I believe, did you already do that, Mayor Rogers? I have copies for everyone, actually, so I would like to hand them out.
Thank you. Who's next? Please state your name and address.
Brandy Valentine, 220 Starkey Loop, Henry, Tennessee. Good evening. I'm standing before you tonight to formally request to delay the passing of this ordinance. We need more time. The current draft contains severe, dangerous structural flaws that leave our county completely unprotected. If we do not pause right now to fix these gaps and make this text truly ironclad, we're giving big tech a blank check to destroy our community's health, safety, and environment. Let me walk you through the exact failures that I've uncovered in this draft, starting with Section D, location requirements. In Section D1, the ordinance allows data centers to build on a 20% slope. This is an environmental disaster. Any basic engineering manual shows that a 5% to 15% slope carries a moderate to high risk of uncontrolled water runoff. A 20% slope guarantees severe soil erosion, localized flooding, and foundation settling. Without a multi-million-dollar advanced engineering, a massive industrial structure built on a 20% incline risks catastrophic slope failure and collapse. This must be rewritten to a minimum of a slope of 4%. Furthermore, Section D4's 300-foot protective distance is completely unsafe. A data center's massive chemical storage, heavy foundation, and immense stormwater runoff require a significantly wider safety zone. Because Murray is sitting directly in a highly sensitive karst, I'm not saying that wrong, and sinkhole zone, we must change this to a strict 1,000-foot radius from the edge of any sinkhole throat or karst cave opening. This is the only way to prevent a concentrated torrent of industrial water from blasting into nearby riverbanks and wetland depressions, which would otherwise rapidly trigger underground cave-ins and swallow homes. Moving on to Section E, general requirements. Our setbacks are completely insufficient on Section E1B. It sets a minor setback, but it must be extended to 2 miles from residential districts. Data center cooling fans create deep, continuous, low-frequency hum that standard concrete sound walls cannot block. It passes straight through home insulation and triggers chronic sleep deprivation, elevated cortisol, and nervous system stress in citizens. Similarly, Section E1C's 2,000-foot buffer from residential properties is also a major hazard. It must be pushed to a minimum of 1 mile. This ensures that the massive clouds of toxic fine particle matter released during generator operations can safely drop to a harmless baseline level before reaching our families' yards. To back this up, we must insert a brand new subsection under Section E8 for low frequency acoustic controls. This one's not going to make a lot of sense, but it's written. The rule must mandate that sound measurements be taken from Type 1 sound level meter operating simultaneous to both the A-weighted and C-weighted networks. It must explicitly state that measured DBC level minus DBA level should not exceed a 10 decibel delta at any point along a residential property boundary, with an immediate violation penalty for any delta of 11 decibels or greater. If we measure in standard dBA, we are legally deaf to data center hum. Next, Section E10 completely fails to regulate generator testing and capacity. I know you put in a ban against the diesel generators, but natural gas also creates major health problems. If we leave this blank, developers will stack massive gas engines on a single lot, creating a localized power plant that exposes neighbors to asthma, chronic bronchitis, strokes, and premature death. We must rewrite this section to impose strict and power caps that mathematically force developers to stay small, an absolute cap of 10 megawatts of connected electrical load, a maximum building size of 25,000 square feet, which is basically a neighborhood pharmacy, and a hard limit of no more than 3 emergency backup generators per facilities. Hyperscale developers like Amazon or Microsoft will instantly skip over our county if we pass these caps, which is exactly what we want. Finally, we must completely throw out and rewrite sections E11 and E12 regarding cooling and water management. We must ban groundwater usage and flatly prohibit closed loop and liquid immersion cooling systems altogether. Developers claimed closed loops save water, but they're a chemical time bomb. They recycle water until it becomes...
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes your 5 minutes. Thank you. Who's next?
Ken Wolf, 1404 Vine Street, Murray, Kentucky. I want to thank the consul. I was out of town a good bit of the month of June, but I followed what you were doing very closely when I got back, and I'm very impressed with the thoroughness of the consul and the folks I've just heard today too. I appreciate the thoughtfulness. This is a very serious issue. And the main issues that I've heard discussed and read about are air, water, energy, and there's a fourth one that hasn't been discussed very much, but that is the effect on poor people if you locate these things in a neighborhood where people are not able to live very successfully even as it is. And I appreciate what I've just heard. My comments are much more general and I dare say philosophical. I think you've taken the bull by the horns in even addressing data centers, but we need to remember the key word is data. And aside from the water, air, and social and political implications of these things, we need to remember the data that's being collected. It started 30 years ago with AI, artificial intelligence, and with computers generally. People in this country and all over the country now are invading our privacy to a great extent. And I don't think the data centers should do anything to contribute to that. They're going to make it worse, I'm afraid. People already know where we live. They know our medical condition. They know how much money we make. They know what we prefer to buy. And this is, please ask questions of any of these companies that want to put data centers in. Who's going to collect the data? How is it going to be used? When and where is it going to be used? Let's protect the privacy we have left in this country. I think that's it's not as tangible as setbacks and, requirements for air and water, but it's awfully darn important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next. Do you wish to speak, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. You may submit it in writing. One week. Wish to speak? Please
My
state your
name is Terry McCreary. I live at 1606 Wiswell Road, and I want to read a few headlines that I've collected from the web. Federal class action lawsuit filed over Dowagiac, Michigan data center noise. Atlanta area data center power plant accused of building generators without permit. Meta forced to halt data center water discharges after polluting city water's reclamation system with resistant bacterium. Spartanburg County data center lawsuit. Residents say $2.8 billion project was wrongly classified as minor development. Wisconsin residents sue Microsoft over noise caused by new data center. I think it's very apparent that a multi-billion-dollar company that comes in and builds a data center is going to do what it damned well pleases, regardless of any contracts, any paper that you happen to have. And I think you really ought to consider that before you even think about allowing a data center. I think the best thing that could possibly be done is what has already been done in the state of Oklahoma, a complete moratorium on data centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. You want to speak, sir?
My name is Ron Hargrove. I'm at 1305 Story Avenue here in Murray. And my concern is that the council will have to approve any applications for these data centers, I assume. And I would urge you to not allow them. You know, I'm curious about how many jobs, local jobs, would be created, and I figure they'll bring a lot of people in from out of town. So with everything's been said tonight about the noise, the chemicals, the water, electricity, I think it's all those together would be a very adverse condition for the residents of Murray, Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made and second to close this public hearing. Public hearing is a meeting. We are not allowed to discuss any item except what's on the agenda. That completes our agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, being no further business before this council, I move we adjourn.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?